My name is Lloyd Chang. This is my project for CSCI E88 Principles of Big Data Processing. The project's goal is to study real-time tweets of the 30 stock symbols in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We'll build a system that collects only the Twitter data that mentions these stock symbols and then index them into ElasticSearch. In our pipeline, we start with Twitter streaming data. Flume will collect them, send it to Kafka. Logstash will then consume the data from Kafka and then send it to ElasticSearch. We will use Docker containers to accomplish all this. Here is our Docker compose file. We have multiple services. We have a Zookeeper container, Kafka, and then we have JDK, which is used to run Flume. And then we have ELK, which has Logstash, Elasticsearch, and Kibana. Here's all the commands we have in the terminal to run all the systems. We first start the Docker containers. We create the topic using the Kafka container. We start Flume in the JDK container. And then we configure Logstash to consume messages and then send it to Elasticsearch. Here's our Flume configuration. It's using the Cloudera Twitter source. And it's looking for these keywords, which are the stock symbols. This is our Logstash configuration. It's getting input from Kafka. It's filtering out all the data so that we only end up with the text, the ID, and the timestamp, and then sending that to Elasticsearch. Here we can see all the containers are up and running. We created our topic. Flume is up and running and collecting Twitter data. And Logstash is collecting data from Kafka and sending it to Elasticsearch. In Kibana, we can run a query and find out we are storing the data in Elasticsearch. Here is an example of a data that contains a timestamp, a text, and an ID. We can then visualize the data. This is a 24-hour chart of all the counts of all the stock symbols. We see that at 10:30 a.m. there were a peak of 303 messages. Below we have an example of the most recent tweet that we received, which is about Apple. We can click on the URL and then see the actual tweet itself. We can also visualize the data differently. Here is the counts for each stock over the last 24 hours. We have Apple at 1512, Microsoft at 416, and so on. We can put both of these charts into the dashboard so that we can look at them together. And that's all for this project.